Hello, welcome everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. Happy Thursday. Glad to see everyone here. My name is Hayden, and I have the honor and privilege to be your moderator today. I'm excited to see how today's topics will assist you and your team in taking not just your SharePoint environment, but your business to the next level. A few things to mention before we jump in. First, you may have noticed that when you joined, all mics are muted for this. So if you have any questions or comments during the presentation, we do encourage you to utilize the QA feature in your toolbar. And that will allow our team to be able to reply to you directly during the presentation. Once the webinar concludes, we will then be moving into a live Q&A session, which we will then allow users to unmute and ask questions to our team in real time. Just an FYI, that QA session at the end is not just for what we cover today, but pretty much any of your 365 environment questions. We'll go over that more in detail later. Also, our next webinar will be in late September, so keep an eye out for the emails coming your way so that you can make sure you don't miss out. At this time, I'm going to throw it over to Andrea to give you all a brief message. Over to you, Andrea.
Hey, welcome everyone. Andrea Skinner here. So this dataBridge webinar series is brought to you by the SharePoint Concierge Service Program at dataBridge. Some of you are a part of that and some of you are guests. So I just want to say welcome to everyone. We schedule approximately 10 of these webinars each year for the purpose to introduce new features which are getting rolled out to your Microsoft 365 stack almost on a weekly basis. We mix in some existing features that you have had for a while, but you may not be using or know how to use or know about. So we try to cover soup to nuts, some existing and some new features in each webinar. So as we cover how to implement these tools, we'll give you some ideas of how you can add value and efficiency to routine business activities. And hopefully that will also give you an opportunity to ask us some questions. We have a very talented team here. And so I will hand this back over to Hayden and we will get started.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Andrea. As you guys can see, per usual, we have a jam-packed schedule for today with a wider range of topics. We did have one change to our schedule for today's webinar. Instead of Dylan teaching on the new SharePoint document library form experience, we are switching that to the new quick steps for lists and libraries. We do hope to cover the new form experience next month in next month's webinar when Microsoft rolls out even more information on it. So starting us off today, Dylan will be going over the new quick steps in lists and libraries. This presentation will show you the new feature in SharePoint that allows you to automate certain tasks in lists and libraries. The quick steps work very similar to rules, and Dylan will show us how to get them set up properly and various functionalities of them. Katie will then go over the inline comments feature found on SharePoint pages. In this section, you'll discover some practical use cases for the comments feature on SharePoint pages. We do have a lot of clients who ask us what the purpose for them is, and so Katie will give us a couple of great ideas for them. Hopefully that'll help you guys out. Leon will then catch us up to speed on the org link security groups. Just in case you've ever wondered how you should use these default permission groups, we've put together a brief presentation today to explain how these groups allow users to update featured links on the SharePoint start page. And then last but certainly not least, Leona will show us the new SharePoint Advanced Page Analytics. In this section, we'll explore the brand new SharePoint Page Analytic upgrades. Very excited about this. This will allow you to put these reports to work and see how your sites and apps are being leveraged by your employees. So stay tuned for that because that's going to be an exciting one. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on into our first topic, the new quick steps in the lists and libraries taught by Dylan. Over to you, Dylan.
Hey everyone, yeah, I'll go ahead and pull up the slide here. Yeah, so in today's presentation, I'll go over the quick steps feature in SharePoint lists and libraries. And yeah, and so basically this is a set of actions. The quick steps is a set of actions in lists and libraries that you can, it's like a low effort or something that you can quickly set up that's not complex and it can do certain tasks. Some of the scenarios for it might be like creating like a simple archive or backup type functionality, or being able to set metadata, like your columns, either in a list or library, maybe for the purposes of resetting it or doing some kind of auto approval that where you could maybe even bulk do that. So like multiple items and automatically set a handful of values on that given item or document, um, as well as things like execute flows, without having to set up like a licensed Power Automate account or something. Now, for things that are more complex, you're still going to use that, but for this, um, it's something that you could quickly try without having to learn any sort of expressions or anything. It's very simple to use, something you can try out um, with a very, very easy to understand type of configuration. So and for anyone that's used the rules, the rule alerts, it's very similar in how it functions. And so the rule alerts, it's what's basically replacing the old SharePoint alerts. And for anyone that's um, doesn't know yet, basically those SharePoint alerts, it's the classic SharePoint alerts. Those are actually going away. They'll stop working next year, I believe in July. And you also won't be able to create new ones. I think it's either this month or next month. I forgot the exact date, but basically the existing ones you have will continue to work and they'll completely turn off that engine next year. So it just gets replaced by the rules for your out of the box sort of alerts. But essentially quick steps and rules work in a very similar way. And even in the screenshot here, and I'll show it on the screen as well, you'll see they're right next to each other under the Automate tab. And so they work very similar, and there's a lot of overlap between them. There is some overlap between them, but Quick Steps is focused more on actions like setting values or maybe like execute a flow or something like that. And you can see some of those here in the screenshot, and I'll walk through a couple little scenarios of something where you might want to try it out just to see if it works before you maybe switch over to something like Power Automate or for your list or library. So with that in mind, I'll go ahead and pull this browser on over to the share screen here, and I'll just walk through setting up some quick steps. And I have a few scenarios set up where that might be useful. And so let me go ahead and first just show the feature, and then I'll walk through setting one up. So quick step, I've got this my little demo travel request list here, and you can see I've got 2 items already approved. And so one scenario I could potentially see is, maybe it's even just a temporary thing where you're kind of testing a process and just a way where you could easily reset the values like the metadata on some of your fields. Maybe you've created a list and you're kind of walking through, you have like maybe a little simple approval kind of thing set up, and you just want to be able to reset some items. What you could do is have a quick step, which I have in mind. So I've got 2 items selected here, and under the automate here in the ribbon, I'll select my reset approvals. That's just what I named it. And so when I click that, you can see for the 2 items I had selected, it just reset this approved field as well as the approval status field. And then I'll also show one other thing here. So like I'll just select one item this time. I could select multiple if I wanted. I could see some other choices here. And so I could do, auto approve, or I could select multiple and do my auto approve feature. And what that's doing is it's setting is this item approved, yes, and my approval status to approved. So basically for multiple items I had selected, I could add a quick step. And you can also see that you can have conditions. So those quick steps only show up, depending on certain values being, certain conditions being met, based on the values in the metadata. So, it can be something that could be useful, even if it's, maybe just for a testing phase and then you remove the quick step, or maybe you find some common scenario where you're always having to go into a form and change it. And this could be just kind of a way to have something that, uh, that's useful for you to reset. And of course, it's going to use the permissions um, of the current user. So, if you don't have permissions to that item, you won't be able to use those actions. Um, So let me just show real quick what I just did as well. So if you want to manage your quick steps or create a new one under the automate, it's in the same place. So right next to the rules is the quick steps. And if I go to either create or manage quick steps, first I'll just hit manage quick steps. So I can see, my existing ones that I have created. And you can see I could even turn them on and off. And then I could also go in and create a new one. So I'll go ahead and create a new one here on the list just to show how it works. So when I create a new one here, it shows the set of actions that are available for this list. So there's a couple of these. I haven't found some of them seem interesting, potentially, but not super useful yet, in the sense that, you can't really, like the draft email one. It could be nice that you could go ahead and have people CC or added based on fields in the form, but it's just going to be, whatever you hard code to be the subject or something of that, or include the link. It's not like you could flesh out a full, dynamic email essentially that pops up. It's going to be pretty simple. So maybe some people find that useful, but just something to be aware that it could seem cool, like start a Teams chat, but it's those are going to be pretty simple in what they do. The ones that I potentially would see more useful might be like the set a value or execute a flow potentially. And so I'll just start with the set a value, as it's a little more straightforward to use. So the set a value, you'll see when I open it, it's the same kind of window like you would see on the rules in terms of how it works. And basically, show a command that will for each selected item. And then you choose what that given action is. So I'm choosing set the value, and then you can choose what column you want to update. So if I wanted to create something that resets all the values in the form, I could set multiple by choosing my columns here. I could say, let's make them empty. So I can just go through, maybe if I wanted to, for whatever reason, have something that resets the values, I could choose those in here, add different columns. So you could potentially set a handful of different columns. But also, yeah, just keep in mind, it could be useful, but it's not going to be as advanced if you were using something like Power Automate, where you could really make it super dynamic and have kind of formulas or expressions and things like that. This is going to be a lot more straightforward in what it could do. But you see, anyways, there could be some use cases for it. So I could set this up where I'm just kind of resetting all my values. I could give the quick step a name. And then I could choose, do I want to always have this quick step available for any selected item, or do I only want to show it, whenever a certain value equals something or doesn't equal something? So I wanted to say reset, when the approval status is, rejected or something like that. So that it only shows when it's rejected. I could use this, reset values or something like that. I'll just show potentially if I get the different fields that I want, reset. So, I just create a new action there, and it'll only show, when the approval status equals that the rejected status. And of course, I could click into any of my existing ones here. So I could click in, let's say, to the auto approve, and I can manage it. You see, they all essentially work the same here. And so depending on the different status that's set, I'll have different actions that'll show up. So for instance, that new one I created won't show for these items because these have the status set to approved. So I can only do the reset here. And then let me just show real quick as well some of the other actions like the execute a flow. So this one here, I've got this test flow trigger is just what I called it. And before I trigger it, I'll just show it real quick. So which is the execute a flow action as the one selected there, where you enter the flow ID. And the scenario where I found this could be useful is where you just have a manually triggered flow. I don't want to get too in the weeds with the flow side of it, but if you had something like a manually triggered flow that provisions some resources and you just want to make it available, maybe when Like for instance, if you have something like a request form or proposals or project, whatever, some kind of project list or library, and when it reaches a certain status, you could make this little execute flow action available that could provision resources, based on that. And that flow doesn't have to be tied directly to the library. It could just be a manually triggered flow, and you could reference it here and trigger it. Now, the drawback to that is that it's not going to pull over dynamic values. They have to fill out a little input form still. But, just something that's could be easy to set up. And I could just show it real quick what I mean. So like test flow trigger here. That's my quick step action. That's what I called it. And you can see this is actually pulling up the little manual execute or manually triggered flow. And I'm executing that flow, and I have some input fields in my flow of what's the site URL and library. So you could have this little form that pops up from your flow, and they fill out the fields and then trigger the flow. So just to show that real quick, it's basically making this manually triggered flow available on the list here, and you can make it available, just even when the form equals a certain status or something like that. So anyways, you can see I just triggered that flow, which is just a manually triggered flow, and I filled out the basic details to kick it off. I could have additional fields there and things, or input fields in my flow. But yeah, I don't want to get too in the weeds with the flow, but just to show that feature. And then, what I'm showing right now are the quick steps that are available on the list. And before I conclude here, I'll just show also on the document library some of those features, which you might even find more useful for maybe moving files to set locations. So let me go ahead and show some of those real quick. So under my automate tab, I could either have a document selected here and in the command bar go to automate, or of course I could pull up this same set of buttons here by hitting the little ellipses and then go to automate here. Same thing. So just to show this real quick, I've got some different actions on this one. This is the document library. So I've got a backup file or archive expired file. I've also got a reset metadata and a get approval. So these are ones I already have set up. And some of these just apply to the document library since it's a file, so I can show those here. So for instance, if I wanted to say archive expired file, what that does is it moves my file to the archive folder on my document library. Of course, it could be a different document library, even on a different site. As long as the user that used that action had the ability to move that file there, they'd be able to use that action. So now if I go to my archive, it's now in this folder here called archive. Basically what I've done is I've just created a simple action, and I could just even make that quick step action only available, when the file is expired based on my expired date, or based on the status being, expired or something like that if I had a status. So just to show that action, basically what I did is it's just a move to action, and then I just set the location. And in this case, I just set the location to be my archive folder, but you can see I could select a different site, a different spot where I wanted to move my file. And I even got a condition here where the expiration is before today. And something else I have as well. So you could have multiple different quick steps. I'll come back to my automate. And I could show some of these. Yeah, let me move it back and just show the other one from the main folder. So I'll move it back out of the archive and just show the other action I'd set up, which is the backup. So instead of moving the file to the archive location, it'll create a copy in the backup folder. So I'll just go to the automate backup file. And so what it's doing now is it's just creating a copy of the file in the backup folder. So potentially it's just a nice, easy to set up, low effort thing you could try using. Of course, if you need something that's more serious business logic to handle that could be handled with policies or something like Power Automate or different things. But this is something that's easy to set up and just try out. And then one last one I want to show, which is more unique to document libraries, I believe. Let me just open the quick steps, the manage quick steps. So I showed the move and copy file, but let me just go to create a quick step and show these different actions that are available for the library. First, the list. So some of these are the same, like the set value, draft email, and start a Teams chat. But the additional ones on this library I have are like this copy file or folder, or move file or folder, where I could set a location, or I could even have, different copy files or different move file locations depending on the status or the type of the document category. Maybe it goes to a different backup folder for that given category of a document. So you could just have that quick step show up. Like if I want to say only show this, if I had a category or based on the status or whatever it may be, if it only, if it equals just a certain value, then only show this one, this action, like a backup approved documents or something, or rejected or whatever it may be. But I'll show you one other one as well. There is this feature that's you can use now, which it's like enable approvals on a document library. It's like a very simple approval feature that uses that sort of the Teams approval app. So I've got that enabled on this document library. And because I have that enabled, there is also now a quick step. So just to show the out of the box, what that enabling that approval feature does, is it gives you this ability, it adds this column and gives you this ability to submit the approval here. And then you have to enter the person that approves it. But what you could do with a quick step, just to show what I have there, I'll go back to automate, I'll go to the manage, and I'll show my existing one here, is I could send an approval request, but I could map it to a field that's in the library. So, it's not going to be as advanced if you had like a mapping list or something to be able to do that. But if you had like an approver or a document owner, or whatever it may be that you want the approval to go to, and it's a metadata field on that document, you could have that person get automatically populated into that approval when you use it. So just to show, I've got this set up here already. It requires response from all approvers. It sets that value. And I have this one to always show, and confirmation dialog box, so that they still have to, confirm they want to do that approval. So I'll show it real quick. So if I want to do an approval on this one, go to my automate, I'll say get approval. And I don't have an approver set on this one, so I'll set an approver real quick, and I'll just show that it, auto populates the approver for that given field. I'll just give it a refresh, hopefully, to get it to show up a little faster here. Or if the little dialog box doesn't want to work, I'll just do it like this. Yep, so I'll just fill out the approver and then use that quick step real quick. So get approval. So now you can see, because I entered an approver into that approver column in my document, it auto populates with the person that I entered. Or if I had multiple people, it could populate multiple people automatically. And also, because I set up that quick step to require a response from all approvers, if there was multiple, it's automatically checked. But it still brings up this confirmation screen to submit it, because I had that set in the quick step. But basically in the quick step, you could have these pre-configured. So if you were using this feature, if you had it enabled, it would go ahead and configure that approval without them having to fill out the stuff, and then I could just submit it. So, depending on some of the features, these quick steps have just been adding some additional things you could do with them. Maybe they'll expand upon in the future, as well as they add new features and allow that feature to be triggered from a quick step. But it's just something to be aware of that's pretty easy to use, very similar to rules. And on the note of rules, just to show real quick, you can see it's a very similar screen. And they've even implemented the ability to use some of those actions in rules as well. So beyond the just using this for the email functionality, they have some of these actions as well available in rules, like that same copy file to So you could make it a little bit more automated, so you don't have to trigger a quick step to copy the file. You could say, if the status gets set to a particular value, to automatically copy the file or move the file. So if it was approved, it gets copied or moved to a different folder. So something to be aware of as well. If you're trying to automate a little bit more, the rules does have some options here for that, of being able to set up an action based on a field equals certain value, basically. So they've expanded that rules a little bit too, with some of those different actions that could be a little bit more dynamic and not require someone to actually trigger it intentionally. So something to be aware of, as especially with those, if you're just using those out of the box SharePoint alerts, you're switching to rules, just be aware they have added some additional features in here as well, just for setting values, copying, moving files. They've even got this translate copy. So some potentially interesting stuff there, for using the rules and quick steps. Of course, yeah, they're still gonna be pretty simple, not super, dynamic, but and what they can do, but real easy to try out anyways. So with that in mind, that will conclude my topic, and I'll hand this back over. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Dylan. That's awesome. Yeah, these quick steps really allow for easy setups to help internal operation actions. So the nice thing is that site owners or content manager users who manage the content on the site will be able to set these up as the team needs them directly to the list or library that needs them as well. I know Dylan mentioned this earlier, but just to reemphasize, the classic alerts are retiring. So we do encourage all clients to switch to rules, Power Automate, or these quick steps to prepare for this change. If rules and quick steps don't quite get you the automation that you desire, let us know and we can assist you in setting up some of those Power Automations for you and your team. With that said, we'll move into the next segment, who is taught by Katie, who's going to teach us on the comments feature found within SharePoint pages. Over to you, Katie.
Thanks, Hayden. So I'm going to just briefly talk about the comments feature that you see on pages and news pages. It's been around for a while, so it's really nothing new, but a lot of people aren't really sure how they could utilize these efficiently. So I just want to talk about a couple of ways that you could do that. So I'm going to pull over just a live page so we could get a good look at it. So when you create a new page, the comments feature is actually already enabled. You'd be able to enable or disable that when your page is in edit mode. It has this simple little toggle right there that you'd be able to turn it on and off with. So one of the ways that you could use this is when you're co-authoring a page, you might be working with someone in a different office, or maybe you're working remotely in different states, and you're trying to collaborate on what to put on this new page. So rather than having to send Teams messages or emails back and forth, you could actually handle all the communication right on this page using these comments. So one thing that you could do is do an @ to mention someone, and they would get an email alert. So for example, I could say, @ Christy, what web parts should we have? And then I could simply post it. So because I added her, she'll get a notification saying that there's been a comment on this page. And she could simply come in here, click reply, and be able to say, let's put some news articles or events web part or whatever we really want. And it can kind of go back and forth. Before this page goes live for the public, we'd be able to come in here, delete these comments, and to delete a comment, you actually don't have the page in edit mode. You'll see these little ellipses here. So if you click on that, you'd be able to say delete. Are you sure? Yep. and that could go away. If you don't want to have the comments enabled on the page when it's public, simply go back into edit and toggle them off. Another way that this feature can be used is to have it live, to have the comments on while the page is live to the audience. So here we have just a simple, onboarding page, and we are using the comments so we're able to actually ask questions without having to clog up emails. So for example, here we have, who do I contact to set up the recurring check-ins? So whoever's managing this page would be able to come and reply and say, you could contact any of the HR team members that you're finding listed on this page, or anything like that. You could, again, use the @ feature so they get the notification. The way that the replies work is only one level deep. So I could reply to a comment and start the thread that way, but you wouldn't be able to reply to a reply. So it is only one level deep that way. Another thing to note with these is that the page does have to be published in order for the common features to work. So if you don't have the page actually published yet, you'll see that you'll get a notification saying that, you must publish in order to use this feature. So that's just a couple of ways that you can use these comments on pages and news articles. So with that, I'm going to actually pass it back to you.
Thank you so much, Katie. Awesome stuff. Yeah, one of the best use cases that comes to mind, and what I've seen be very successful for organizations, is leaving these comments on for maybe news pages. So when your HR team or marketing team or whomever uses that news web part and pushes out a new announcement or a new news for the organization, it allows the end users to collaborate together, celebrate together, has some cultural feel to it. So really cool functionality with little risk to it. With that said, let's go ahead and jump on into the next segment taught by Leon, who will be teaching us all about the org link security groups. Over to you, Leon.
Great. Welcome, everybody. Yeah, we're going to talk in this segment a little bit about featured links. Some of you may have seen this on your SharePoint landing pages. I was actually not aware of it before I looked into this topic, so it's pretty cool. Now, a couple things. Why do you care? Right? Is it something that you should be aware of kind of on a daily basis, or is this something more when you get started with SharePoint? Probably the latter. When you start to implement SharePoint, often one of the things that you'll do is to have a common navigation to get to particular locations. But what this feature, the links, is doing, it's kind of an out-of-the-box linking that you would set up on your default SharePoint page. So you start using SharePoint, users are going to hit the little waffle at the top, and they're going to get to that landing page. So on that page is this featured links, list of links. So what we're really advocating here is for you to take a look at that, because you can standardize the links that are actually there. So that's really what it's pointing to as you look at these slides. So whether you knew it or not, there are some very specific groups that essentially delegate what the permissions you have within these links. So what you would often do is say, okay, this group of individuals should really be managing these links, keeping them fresh, making sure that they are obviously still working, and really that standardization is the responsibility of that smaller group. So there are some default groups or locations that are already there for you to start working with it. So the whole idea, again, is just to have this consistency across the way those links work. So where is that? Let's take a look. So when you go to your default SharePoint landing page, right, when you just simply click on this and you go to SharePoint, especially at the very early stages when you're getting your tenant set up, you're going to have this featured links section. So the idea is that you are looking to standardize where these go. And again, often what you'll be doing during the whole branding exercise and really getting everything set up is you will have a common navigational bar and element that you'll use to get around, but you'll have this basically in the meantime. It's pretty straightforward. If I have the rights to be able to change this, then I can simply come in here, do an edit, and then add the new link within that within this featured links area. So text to display, obviously just put the URL in there, and then I'm good to go. So where this is being managed, or the groups that have rights in here is being managed, is where you would find all of your different groups within SharePoint. So you'll just simply go up to your site settings, and you're looking for people and groups. And within the people and groups, if we just go look for all the groups that are in here, we're then going to see those very unique groups that it was referencing. So if we go back to our PowerPoint here, we can see that we have admins, editors, and viewers. So out of the box, you would just simply add the groups into here, your AD groups, and then the members of those groups would be the ones that are responsible for these different areas. So really, kind of the takeaway from this is, if you are going to use it, is to establish some links, kind of a consensus on, what the most popular links are, the ones that you want to direct your users to, look at them with the level of frequency, keep that updated, make sure you're testing it, obviously, and everything works there ongoing. But yeah, that's really the majority of what we wanted to look at there in terms of the linking. That's pretty straightforward. There is not a way to reestablish the default for your SharePoint landing page, even though you can get creative with some of the other linking. So you will have users falling on this page for quite some time. So it's definitely worth taking a look at that. All right, that's all I had for this session. Hayden, back to you.
Thank you so much, Leon. Yeah, as Leon was saying, although most organizations we work with do desire to switch out their root site to be the first page, usually a hub page for users to see, we have seen a lot of new features and updates coming to the start page that Microsoft is pushing out. And so who knows when and these different features are going to hit, and how they could be useful for your team. So knowing who has access to edit these different things on your start page is necessary. And like Leon was saying, that even if users go to the waffle in the top left and go straight to the app, or maybe they go to the left-hand navigation to the house icon, if you haven't changed it from its default section or default link that it goes to, both will take you to that start page. And so allowing users to at least easily navigate to the sites they need to is a pretty huge thing. So thank you so much, Leon, for covering that today. Okay, last but definitely not least, we're going to be going over the new SharePoint Advanced Page Analytics taught by Leona. Over to you, Leona.
All right, welcome everyone. Yep, today in my presentation, I'll be covering the new updates that is coming to the page analytics for SharePoint Online. For those who are unaware, each of your SharePoint Online pages have the capability of having analytics via the ribbon at the very top of the page, which just gives you very basic information. Things like total unique viewers, unique page view, or sorry, viewers, total page views, average time spent on the page, and also kind of the traffic based off the day of the week and the hour of the day. That's kind of what Microsoft gives you right now, which they give you 7, 30, and 90-day increments to kind of be able to search for that data. But coming soon, between hopefully by mid-month or into mid-next month, you'll be getting an additional controls if you have an additional license, which we'll cover here in just a moment. All right, so let me go ahead and kind of pull up an image for us. So coming soon, we'll be having the capability of having a lot more information to be available to you. First off, you're going to be able to have up to 365 days worth of analytical data versus it just being those 3 batches that we have right now. You also have the capability of having distribution based off of channels. And channels is going to be more of a broad term in the sense of what is the method or the mechanics to send out this information about this news article or these pages that you want to have. So as we can see here, they have Outlook, SharePoint, Teams, and Engage, which that's Viva Engage for those who don't really use Engage that often. This allows you to track what applications are being used for dissemination of this data, and also how many of the users through those different means are engaging with this content. This also allows you to see how many of the entirety of the organization is currently engaging with this page here. So then this may be very beneficial to HR or executives. And we'll give some more examples here at the end of this session to talk about, hey, what are the use cases for those metrics? We also have 3 new metrics that are coming along with this, which are going to be related to the unique clicks on the page. So to track how many of the hyperlinks are being clicked on that page. We are also getting analytics for promotions, which is a Microsoft Viva control. So again, if you wish to use Viva Engage, that's going to be a new control to have metrics there. And also reactions, which are going to be related to the emojis that you can kind of use on your pages. Additionally, you will also have the capability of exporting the entirety of all this data into either Excel or PowerPoint. So if you wanted to kind of get a report to send off to an executive or to your leadership, you can go ahead and do so very easily via a button pressed at the very top of the page. Also, you will have the capability of exporting any of these individual charts one at a time as an image. So if you say, hey, our team is very image centric, I want to create a PowerPoint presentation, you can go ahead and click the copy as image button. That will copy that chart specifically as an image. So then you can go ahead and reuse that anywhere that you wish to use it at. Again, additionally, you're going to have the new page design, of course, because there's a lot more features coming along with this new analytics. So therefore, you have a lot more verticality on the page now and a lot more information being available to you. Like I said before, this is coming mid-August to mid-September of this year. As of this moment, that's the roadmap for it. You will also need to have an additional license if you wish to use this data. So somebody will have to have either a Microsoft Viva Employee Communications and Communities license or a Microsoft Viva Suite license. So if you wish for users to gain benefit from this, be able to pull those reports down, somebody will have to have one of those 2 licenses applied to their account to have access to that information. So again, this is a new feature that I hope that a lot of organizations will get benefit from. An example might be, again, marketing is a prime candidate. They love to have metrics on going, what is the most used pages? What's being clicked on? I want to know what our user base is, how engaged our user base is doing. An additional thing might be for executives or HR or compliance to say, hey, we're going to go ahead and put out our guidebook or maybe a policy onto a page. We want to see how many percentage of the user base is engaging with that page and not having to go through audits or any other controls to kind of track all the traffic going there. So those are going to be some valuable metrics that your user base will be able to use moving forward. And I hope that you guys will get the benefit from it. So I'll pass it back on to you, Hayden.
Thank you so much, Leona. Yeah, this is great. Any time that we can get a deeper understanding of return on investment, heat maps, is this content working? Is this content not working? We just love to see even more easy to grab analytics come to SharePoint. I'm excited to see as they continue to roll out. So thank you, Leona, and thank you all the other presenters. Goodness gracious. Happy Thursday, everyone, for today's presentation. As a friendly reminder, I know we've mentioned it before, classic alerts are retiring. So go ahead and start planning for that and how it might affect your guys' overall intranet. That does conclude today's learning portion of today's webinar. I hope we've been able to spark some new interest for functionality for you and your teams that you guys can go off and explore. Please be on the lookout for your in your email for our next webinar, which again will be in late September. Before we segue into our live Q&A section of this webinar, I do want to remind everyone that all the webinar notes, slides, and even the recordings will be on our learning portal for easy access on everything discussed today for our SharePoint support clients. If for some reason you don't have access or would like to gain access to this learning portal, please reach out to us after the webinar and we'll make sure you're taken care of. Our learning webinar is not just for this webinar notes and videos, materials, but for any future webinar recordings and materials as well. So with that said, let's go ahead and segue into our open live Q&A forum. If you don't plan on staying for the live Q&A, I just want to say thank you again for learning with us today. On the screen, we are showing instructions on how to ask questions by raising your hand. Questions will be taken in order of hand raise. As a friendly reminder for all live QAs, we encourage users to ask any questions about SharePoint or the 365 environment that they want. No question is too small, so feel free to raise your hand and we'll unmute you, or even use the QA chat function if you prefer not to ask via live voice, if you will. Give a couple minutes, see if anyone has any questions. It does not look like it's the case. If you do have questions after this, feel free to email us and we'll make sure you're taken care of. But we'll go ahead and conclude this webinar. Thank you again so much for joining us today, and we hope to see you next month when we have the next one. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys.